Hi, I'm Prometheus. I'm one of the unit artists for the Dawnless Days Total War, and in this video I'll try to showcase the texturing process of one of our assets. The asset I'm working on are a few helmet accessories for Anduin-Vale, the faction which has been our focus for the last half a year or so, if not more. On the screen right now you can see the different concepts that were used for this asset. The first one was made by Arrow and the second by Edred. As usual when making new assets, I first made the high poly with all the necessary details, and then I created the low poly, the model you'll actually end up seeing in game. It has a lot fewer polys, but will transfer all the detail in the baking stage. The helmet has nothing to do with this asset, it is just an example. Alright, let's go texture. You just saw me quickly create the chainmail texture, and now I'm starting with the coif. The coif is going to be a cloth and it's going to be tintable, so we'll be able to change the color of this in the game, so that different factions can have the coif in different colors. For example, the cloth was red before and now it's yellow, but it can really be any color you want it to be. I just added a weave pattern to the cloth, and right now I'm making a layer to make the recesses a bit darker. This is to simulate a kind of fake shadow. Now I'm doing the same thing again, but basically inverted. I make the peaks a bit brighter. Now I start adding some color variation. This is to break up the perfect yellow we had before and make it look more realistic. I end up adding two layers of variation. One is a bit more stripe-like and the other is more like a cloud. After looking at some references of similar pieces of clothing, I realized that they often have horizontal stripes going along, so I decided to add those too. I think it looks quite nice. Here I start adding a gradient so that the bottom of the coif is a bit darker and less glossy than the top. Here I start adding some dirt to the model to give it a bit more life. Here I start adding some stitching to the texture. This took quite a while. I had to redo the top part of the stitching because it didn't align properly. Here I add a metal texture to the metal parts of the straps. This is a pre-made material. I was a bit lazy. Now it's time for the straps. I always like making a leather material because you can make it a bit different every time. It's a lot of fun. Here I do some subtle edge highlights. And here I add some wrinkles. Next up, some edge wear. This is getting used after all. And as always, we need some variation in the texture, so it's what I'm currently doing. Here I move back to the coif to add some darker dirt to give it a bit more variance. And here I make sure that only the edges of the mail are actually transparent. This will look a lot better in game later on. Now I'm trying to add some damage to the cloth of the coif. My first attempts are not very successful, but in the end I managed to get a decent looking result. And the last thing I do is add a bit of variation in the shine and color of the mail. And with that, the model is finished. Here are some renders of it together with the helmet I made. We are always looking for more 3D artists, so if you have the skills and the motivation, feel free to join us.